First we will do is just how it is, and we will shh. Quiet, please.
Hello class. Welcome to this week's filmmaking lesson. The sponsor video will be featured in the show was John Wick TV spot. It will be added to Winnie the Pooh sharing and caring. I know that John Wick is violent. But it was awesome. Alright. First, we will be doing home video releases. On today, we will be doing Field of Dreams 1989 film. Here is the plot in this film. Ray Kinsella, a novice corn farmer, lives with his wife, Annie, and daughter, Karen, on their Iowa farm. In the opening narration, he discusses his troubled relationship with his late father, John Kinsella, a devoted baseball fan. While walking through his cornfield one evening, he hears a voice whispering, "If you build it, he will come." Ray also sees a vision of a baseball diamond in his field. Annie is skeptical, but agrees to him plowing part of the corn under to build a baseball field, despite the financial repercussions it will cause. As he builds, he tells Karen about the 1919 Black Sox scandal. Months pass and one night a uniformed man appears on the field who Ray recognizes as Shoeless Joe Jackson, a deceased baseball player his father idolized. Thrilled to play baseball again, Joe asks if others can play there and later returns with the 7 additional players who were banned in the 1919 scandal. Ray's brother-in-law, Mark, unable to see the players, warns that Ray will go bankrupt unless the corn is replanted. Meanwhile, Ray hears the voice again, this time urging him to ease his pain. Ray and Annie attend a PTA meeting where some local citizens want to ban books by radical author Terrence Mann from the school, considering his work obscene. Ray believes the voice he heard was referring to Mann, who had named a character John Kinsella in one of his books. Ray comes across a magazine interview about Mann's childhood dream of playing for the Brooklyn Dodgers. When Ray and Annie both have an identical dream about Ray and Mann attending a baseball game together at Fenway Park, Ray seeks out Mann in Boston. He persuades a reluctant Mann to attend a game with him at Fenway Park. While there, Ray hears the voice urging him to go the distance. At the same time, the scoreboard shows statistics for a player named Archibald Moonlight Graham, who played one game for the New York Giants in 1922, but never had a turn at bat. After the game, Mann admits he heard the voice and also saw the name on the scoreboard. Ray and Mann traveled to Chisholm, Minnesota and learned that Graham died 16 years earlier and was a doctor. During a late-night walk around Chisholm, Ray finds himself back in 1972. He encounters the now alive and elderly Graham, who states he moved on from baseball for a satisfying medical career. He declines Ray's invitation to fulfill his dream, however. During the drive back home, Ray picks up a young hitchhiker who introduces himself as Archie Graham and says he wants to be a baseball player. While Archie is asleep in the back seat, Ray tells Mann that his father had dreamed of being a baseball star. Ray says he stopped playing catch with his father at age 14 after reading Mann's books about the White Sox scandal. At 17, he caused a rift with his father by claiming that Shoeless Joe was guilty while his father believed him innocent. Ray regrets never reconciling with his father before his death. Arriving back at Ray's farm, they find that more players have arrived to field 2 teams. A game is played, and Archie finally gets his turn at bat. The Field of Dreams, Dyersville, Iowa, May 2006. The next morning, Mark returns and demands that Ray sell the farm. Karen insists there is no need to sell it, because people will come and pay to watch the ball games. Mann agrees, saying that people will come in order to relive their childhood innocence. When Ray again refuses to sell, a scuffle breaks out between him and Mark, during which Karen is accidentally knocked off the bleachers and is unresponsive. The young Graham runs from the field, knowing he is unable to return once leaving, and becomes Old Dr. Graham, complete with Gladstone bag, and saves Karen from choking. He reassures Ray that he has no regrets about leaving the field. After being commended by the other players, Graham disappears into the corn. Suddenly, Mark can see the players and urges Ray to keep the farm. After the game, Shoeless Joe invites Mann to enter the corn, he accepts and disappears into it. Ray is angry at not being invited, but Shoeless Joe rebukes him, If he really wants a reward for having sacrificed so much, then he should stay on the field. Shoeless Joe then glances towards a player at home plate, saying, "If you build it, he will come." The player removes his catcher's mask to reveal he is Ray's father as a young man. Shocked, Ray realizes that, "Ease his pain," referred to his father, and believes that Shoeless Joe was the voice all along. However, Joe implies that, "Ease his pain" was about Ray himself. Joe then disappears into the cornfield. Ray introduces John, not calling him Dad until later, to Annie and Karen. As John heads towards the cornfield, Ray asks if he wants to play a game of catch. They play as Annie happily watches. Meanwhile, hundreds of cars can be seen approaching the baseball field, fulfilling Karen and Man's prophecy that people will come to watch baseball. Alright. This picture was from Iowa. It has a good feature in this film. On tomorrow, we will be doing Fighting with My Family by me and Sharo Kirama. Here is the plot in this film. In 2002, in Norwich, England, UK, 10-year-old Zach Beavis is engrossed by the WWF, now WWE, King of the Ring pay-per-view event until his younger sister Saraya changes the channel to her favorite program, Charmed. The siblings wrestle, urged on by their parents Rick and Julia. Rick books the children for their first wrestling match where Saraya, initially reluctant to wrestle a boy, goes on to win as planned. At 18, competing under the ring name Brittany Knight, Saraya and her brother Zach Zodiac help their parents train prospective wrestlers while working toward their own promotion. Rick and Julia, struggling financially, ask WWE trainer Hutch Morgan to sign the siblings. He finally agrees to a tryout before a SmackDown taping at the O2 Arena, and tells Saraya to find a different name as they already have a Brittany. The siblings receive advice from Wayne Johnson, and Saraya adopts the name Paige from her favorite character on Charmed. The two try out with several other wrestlers and are all belittled by Morgan. He ultimately chooses Paige over the rest, despite her attempt to have Zach signed as well. With her brother's encouragement, Paige leaves for America while Zach continues wrestling on the British independent circuit, assisting his parents' wrestling school, and tending to his girlfriend and newborn son. Arriving at NXT in Florida, Paige has difficulty adjusting to the WWE style of entertainment, chiefly, the absence of intergender competition and the inexperience of her fellow female trainees Jerry Lynn, Kirsten, and Madison. Paige struggles with performing promos and Morgan's constant belittlement. Morgan makes it clear to Zach that he will never be signed to WWE, and Zach falls into a depression. Paige discovers her parents are selling merchandise of her likeness without her permission and have booked her in a match against Zach scheduled for her Christmas break. At an NXT Live event and her in-ring debut, Paige is heckled by the crowd and freezes up, leaving the ring in tears. She decides to bleach her hair blonde and spray tan to look more like her fellow trainees, which only causes more friction between them. After failing an obstacle course, Paige lashes out at the trainees for gossiping about her when they were actually discussing Kirsten, who has been away from her daughter in order to give her a better life. Morgan tells Paige that her brother's future in WWE would only have been as enhancement talent and signing would have ruined his life. Morgan encourages Paige to quit and return to her family for a happier life. She travels home for the Christmas break. Just before the match against her brother, Paige tells Zach she is leaving WWE. Angry that she is giving up the dream he failed to achieve himself, Zach goes off script, defeats Paige and then tells their parents her plans to quit, devastating Ricky. After the family finds Zach in a drunken bar fight, Paige admits that Morgan declined to sign Zach to protect him and he needs to focus on what is important in life, his family and coaching children who look up to him. Paige changes her mind after Zach berates her for giving up on their shared dream and she returns to Florida and her original appearance. She drastically improves in training, befriending and encouraging her fellow trainees. Zach returns to training his parents' students. Morgan brings the trainees to WrestleMania 30, where Paige is booked in a suite with The Rock and learns she will make her Raw debut the following night against WWE Divas champion AJ Lee, as recommended by Morgan. Paige makes her Raw debut and again freezes up, But Lee starts the match and unexpectedly puts the Divas Championship on the line. With her family watching on TV, Paige wins the match and the title, finally comfortable enough to say a promo, "This is my house." An epilogue explains that Paige remains the youngest Divas champion and was an early leader in the ongoing women's revolution, that one of Zach's trainees, who was blind, became a wrestler, and pokes fun at The Rock's movie career and Rick selling shares in the family business. The closing credits include footage from the family's 2012 documentary and Paige's debut match. Alright. On Wednesday, we will be doing Happy Death Day to You. Here is the plot in this film. College student Ryan wakes up in his car on Tuesday, September 19th. Returning to his dorm room, he walks in on his roommate Carter and Carter's girlfriend Tree. He resumes work on an experimental quantum reactor with fellow students Samar and Dre. After Bronson, the school dean, shuts down the project for triggering several power outages, Ryan is murdered by someone dressed as Babyface, and wakes up again on Tuesday the 19th. Tree explains her experience reliving Monday the 18th, and she and Carter agree to help Ryan. They learn the reactor was responsible for creating the loop. The new Babyface tracks Ryan down, but Tree unmasks him to reveal another Ryan. The second Ryan warns that the original must die for the loop to close. Terrified, Ryan activates the reactor, releasing a powerful energy pulse that knocks everyone unconscious. Tree wakes up in Carter's room on Monday the 18th, and relives her original time loop, with certain differences. Lori is not the Babyface killer, and Carter is now dating Danielle. Ryan theorizes that the reactor caused Tree to drift into another dimension. When Tree learns her mother is still alive in this new reality, she decides to stay. That night, Tree goes to the hospital to intercept serial killer John Toombs before he escapes, but is confronted by a police officer. Babyface kills the officer and Tree runs into Lori, who tells her that Babyface cannot be Toombs because she just took him in for surgery. Babyface stabs Lori, then chases Tree to the roof, where she accidentally falls to her death. She wakes at the beginning of her loop, and demands that Ryan and his team help her escape it, requiring they test dozens of algorithms. At Carter's suggestion, Tree serves as the group's recorder, killing herself at the end of each day so they can start again. Eventually, her injuries catch up with her and she faints. Waking up in the hospital, Tree steals a gun to go after Toombs, only to find Lori already dead. Babyface attacks and Tree shoots him dead. However, a second Babyface appears, forcing Tree to kill herself and Babyface. The group finally discovers the correct algorithm, but a technical issue forces a delay. Faced with a choice of which reality she wants to be in when both time loops close, Tree decides to remain in the current dimension. Carter urges Tree to consider the consequences of living a life that is not truly hers, and states that her experience with grief helped shape the person she is now. Tree hides from Babyface in her hotel. That evening, the news reports that Carter was murdered along with Lori at the hospital. Tree kills herself so she can save Carter and Lori. The loop restarts, and Tree decides to return to her own reality. She advises Lori to end her affair with her professor Dr. Butler, discovers that Danielle is cheating on Carter, and has a final conversation with her mother. Bronson confiscates the reactor before the group can activate it. Believing she is too weak to survive another loop, Tree insists they retrieve the device. The group enlists Danielle to distract Bronson while they recover the reactor. As Ryan readies the device, Tree goes to the hospital to rescue Lori from Toombs, but is trapped by the second Babyface, revealed to be Dr. Butler trying to bury the evidence of his affair with Lori. Dr. Butler's wife Stephanie appears and shoots Lori, revealing she is in league with her husband, before he betrays and shoots her as well. Tree outsmarts Butler and kills him. Lori survives, and Tree and Carter kiss as the reactor activates, sending Tree back to her original dimension on Tuesday the 19th. Tree, Carter, Ryan, Samar and Dre are escorted to a DARPA laboratory, where the reactor has been moved for further experimentation. Tree says she knows the perfect test subject. In her bedroom, Danielle wakes up screaming in horror. Alright. On Thursday, we will be doing Never Look Away 2018 American subtitle film. Here is the plot in this film. As a small child during the Nazi era, Kurt visits the traveling exhibition Entartet Kunst, Degenerate Art, in Dresden with his beautiful and eccentric young aunt Elizabeth. Elizabeth tells the boy to never look away because everything that is true holds beauty in it. He will keep this advice close to his heart for the rest of his life, even when his aunt is euthanized by the Nazis because she is suspected to be schizophrenic. The doctor who orders her forced sterilization and sends her to her death is gynecology professor Karl Seeband, the director of the Dresden Women's Clinic and a high-ranking member of the SS Medical Corps. After the war, Seeband is arrested by the Russians and placed in a prison camp where he saves the life of a Russian officer's child during a complicated birth. The grateful Russian officer protects Seeband and releases him, destroying the records of his crimes against humanity. Meanwhile, Kurt Barnard begins to study painting at the Dresden Art School where he falls in love with a young fashion design student Ellie Seeband partly because she reminds him of his aunt. What he does not know is that she is the daughter of the very Nazi doctor responsible for his aunt's murder. He successfully continues his studies, but is forced to complete paintings that reflect social realism, which is an ideology and field of art that he cannot come to terms with. Although he is very good at it, he knows that he can never find his own voice through this kind of art. Eventually, Kurt meets Elizabeth's father, who has left his Nazi past behind and now follows the socialist ideology of East Germany. Kurt still does not know that Karl Seeband is responsible for his aunt's death. Seeband does not approve of his daughter's relationship with Kurt, whom he sees as genetically inferior. He goes to great lengths in his attempts to destroy the relationship. However, Kurt and Elizabeth's love grows even stronger and eventually the two get married. Fearing prosecution after the Russian officer who protected him is transferred to Moscow, Seeband flees East Germany for West Germany. Shortly afterwards, Kurt and Elizabeth, too, flee to West Germany. He does not know what kind of art he wants to make, but he knows that socialist realism is not it. Since Kurt is already 30 years old, he has to lie about his age to be admitted to the famous Düsseldorf Art Academy. Here he can study and practice art more freely than in socialist Eastern Germany. His teacher, based on Joseph Beuys, recognizes Kurt's deep personal experience, but also sees that he is struggling to find his own voice, having been trained only in figurative painting, a medium considered outdated and bourgeois by the standards of the school. Only when Kurt finds a newspaper article about a captured Nazi doctor, Seeband's boss, does he have his artistic breakthrough. He starts using his figurative painting skills to copy black and white photographs onto the canvas, adding a mysterious sfumato blur. He also paints Seeband's passport photographs and photographs of his aunt from his own family album. When Seeband sees a collage painting of Kurt's aunt, the Nazi doctor and himself, he flees, destroyed, not understanding how his despised son-in-law of all people was able to uncover his greatest secret. However, Kurt may not have understood what he was doing, at least not on a conscious level. He realizes that when you are true to your artistic instinct, you can reach a truth your intellect could never hope to attain. After years of infertility, Elizabeth becomes pregnant. Kurt gets his first art show where his art impresses the critics even though they completely misunderstand and misinterpret it. But he can look his past in the eye without fear and has finally found his voice. And that is all that matters to him. Alright. That's all the home video releases we got. So second, we will be doing Monkey Pictures and Roman Cow Productions and Donkey Teeth Company shorts. It was about Mother's Day that every children give mothers some card, thank you message, coffee latte and lovable cats. Alright. That's all the shorts we got. So third, we will be doing Samsung Galaxy S10e. It's about the party who needs to go on schedule. Rabbit and Hattori Bachi kept saying schedule, the party goers leaves and never being in party. Hattori Bachi and Rabbit are sad at some party goers. When they arrived, they joined the party. You can do Samsung Galaxy S10e videos whatever you want. Alright. That's all I got for today. Let's do some work now.
Alright, let's do some work now.